The coal plant is a big issue that you will need to deal with if elected or re-elected to the commission. Tell us if you favor it, what you will think it will do to or for Great Falls, and what you think of the City Commission's coal plant process thus far. It's a pretty complicated question and it's pretty detailed, but I think the public's pretty interested in the response. So I will start with Sue Kahn. Susan? And I'll have the question right here if you want to read it, okay?
How many minutes?
You've got 3.
3 minutes.
2.
2 minutes. Okay. I think the coal plant is, it's really divided this community, and whether we have a coal plant, yes or no, is one issue, and whether the city's involved in it, yes or no, is another issue. And I think if the commission did a better job of this whole coal plant process, beginning with the voting, the input, and making decisions in the right order. A lot of times the cart's before the horse. And I am against the city being involved because there's no direct benefit. It's for a pilot group of citizens that get the benefit, and it's for the businesses. So where is our direct benefit? It's 0. What's our risk? Our risk appears to be pretty high if you read the national newspaper on how they're looking at coal plants. The risk is there. And with citizens owning it, our commission, it's not clear what the contract is. What % do we own this? It started at 25 and the number's been going down. So I would like to see it laid out more clearly so that we can decide and see if there's a universal benefit and bring the issue to a vote, because our community is divided and the vote would trump my opinion. But it's the process that I think you would hold your commissioners responsible to, and it's that process in handling that is one of the core reasons why I'm up here asking to be your mayor.
Thank you very much. Bill Bronson, tell us what you feel about this coal plant issue.
I agree with Susan that we've got 2 issues or 2 questions here. One is whether the plant should be constructed, and then secondly, should the city be involved in it? I've already made my position on both those issues or questions pretty clear. With respect to the plant itself, it has gone through the process that is set up under state law and also federal law for review of whether or not a facility like that can be constructed. The state of Montana and the Rural Utilities Service have issued a record of decision indicating that they feel it meets the tests and that the appropriate permits can be issued for its construction. As an attorney, I respect that process. If you submit the evidence, if you submit the data, and the regulatory authorities believe that you pass the test, then the plant should be constructed. As to whether the city should be involved in it, as I also indicated, that's a question that I debated on or deliberated on for a long time. My normal preference is to support private enterprise. But I've become convinced over the last 10 years that this experience we've had with energy deregulation has been dismal. We need to find new solutions to the problems that were created as a result of it. And I see an opportunity in cities like Great Falls going into the public power business and taking advantage of that to provide electricity not only to businesses, but hopefully someday to consumers as well. I see it as a great advantage. I don't see it as a disadvantage, and that's why I support public power.
Thank you. Larry Steele, your views on the issues of the coal plant?
I am in favor of the coal plant. I think it'd bring great jobs to the community and great economic development to the community. So for that reason, I do support it. I am against the city being involved because I do believe in smaller government and let private enterprise run their course for what's best for the citizens. On top of it, during the last state legislation, the legislation decided to re-regulate, again, something I did try talking to a couple legislators down in Helena about. When they deregulated, there was no competition. It led to some of the problems we see. now that we have forms of competition appearing in the state goes and re-regulates again. So with Microsoft and the Mail Bell systems a couple years ago, Congress has ruled that it's against the law to have a monopoly. Well, the state of Montana ruled this year it's all right to have a monopoly as long as you come to us first and get okay for it. So that's my point on that.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Hensley, Ida, your views on the coal plant?
Mentioning the experiment in deregulation, I just want to remind everyone that it was Montana Power that so strongly pushed to deregulate back then. And then they took the company down the tubes with their Touch America selling off, and lots and lots and lots of people lost money. It's now been Northwestern that has pushed to re-regulate the electric industry. What I do support 100% is the city's leadership in taking control of our energy future. I was serving on the school board when Northwestern, after entering into a very good contract with a rate that we thought we could live with deregulation with us, abruptly canceled its contract with the cities, the League of Cities and the School Boards Association, and told us that we had to, as of the end of the month, go back end of June, like a 2-week notice, we would be back on the default rates. This was going to cost school districts and cities all over the state huge amounts of money, well after their budgets had been set for the following year. The city of Great Falls stepped forward and took a leadership role in saying, there has to be a better way to do this. We will try to buy the electricity. And they started buying electricity and selling it to other entities, such as the school district, which then, saved the school district money, and they didn't have to raise their taxes as much. So I'm very much in support of the city taking this leadership role. That's two separate issues, the coal plant and the city. I do support the city's involvement in the coal plant, and to this point, SME has managed to pass all of the tests. I think Bill outlined them quite well, and it appears to me that this is going to be a good investment for them, but it's SME that's building the plant, not the city of Great Falls.
Thank you very much. And I assume somewhat of a different view, Stuart Lewin.
Thank you. I support public renewable power projects, improving conservation, developing solar, wind, and water, electric power. I support joining other cities adopting the Kyoto Accords, although I think it's clear that the Kyoto Accords need to be redone and be stronger. I oppose the coal plant, whether we own part of it or not. It wastes Missouri River water, contributes to global warming, air pollution, loss of productive farmland, loss of an important historic landmark, and creates another Superfund site along the Missouri. All this to produce, quote, cost-based power, likely more costly than the alternatives. SME, Southern Montana Electric Cooperative, obligated city taxpayers to millions as it promoted this very risky venture. The city purchased power on credit from SME and sold it below cost to city customers, while SME and city officials disingenuously touted cheap power as proof of their marketing acumen. When the city came to the school board and offered them this cheap power and they bought it, yes, they were paying cheap, but they created a huge cost that we, the taxpayers of the city, are going to have to pick up and pay for. So it wasn't really cheap power, and it really was fooling the school board. We went to the school board and told them that this is stupid, and we wanted to know whether the school board was willing to pay back the city of Great Falls. So far, the school board has not said that they would do that. Quickly then, with similar double talk, the developers crowed that this plant would meet all environmental standards while they lobbied the Montana Department of Environmental Quality and the state legislature for weaker enforcement and weaker laws. Even if
Thanks,
okay.
Stuart. Diane?
I have supported the Highwood Generating Station project since Northwest Energy unilaterally canceled the Montana Leagues of Cities power contract. The city needed to find a cost-efficient and reliable source of power, so we joined forces with SME. The Highwood Generating Station will have a positive long-term effect on our community. It will, the plant will use Montana coal to produce Montana energy. The plant will create between 500 and 600 good-paying jobs when it's in the construction phase, and it will have 65 to 75 permanent jobs. I have studied hundreds and hundreds of thousands of documents regarding this issue. I have a son that's 11 years old, and I would never ever want to do anything that would harm him. So I too have read the documents from the air quality, the final environmental impact, and there have been, to me, it satisfies my need that things are going to be fine with this plant. I also believe that because it's such a hot topic, that our EPA in Helena is going to hold this plant if it is built to the highest standards that are out there. And one final thing, we need to realize that SME is working with Montana State University on this carbon dioxide sequestration. And if that's to happen, we should stand up and applaud them, because they are working to get rid of the carbon that is emitted from the plant.
Thank you, Diane. Ed McKnight?
Too bad I don't have 30 minutes to go on this one. I've spoken to over 600 people on the streets that I do not know. The overwhelming popular opinion is that they simply do not want this. And the most amazing reason given to me for all the laundry list of reasons is they simply do not like the fact that the city is shoving it down their throats and they have no choice on the matter. So as far as the commission process, I think it is the worst possible thing they could have done, made a decision that they're going to do something and it affects everybody, not only in this community, but every community around, and it doesn't matter what anybody says. As far as that League of Cities contract, when Northwestern came out of bankruptcy, they offered to reinstill that contract at $33.1 per megawatt hour. That is super cheap. The League of Cities, of which John Lawton and Randy Gray were very instrumental in, refused that, took the money, tried to buy assets that Northwestern didn't want to sell, lost that money. Electric City Power has done nothing but lose money. I've had meetings with Colleen Balzerini, and she has confirmed with me that they have lost money above and beyond anything what the water credits have to do with. There's so many things to cover here.
You have a half a minute.
Okay. What a lot of people don't realize, I have studied this in depth, there is a limited transmission capacity in Montana. We cannot build both Highwood Generating Station and the gas plant at the same time. Windmill projects have already been canceled because there is not transmission capacity. As soon as the Montana-Alberta transmission tie is built, it will be swamped with windmills. This is, in reality, a choice. We can either build this station or we can go with more wind power firmed up by the gas plant. There is not enough transmission capacity to do both. It is a choice.
Thank you. Mary Jolly, she's jumping out of her seat, anxiously grabbing for the microphone.
I know too much. I started going to work sessions in 2005, and when I heard that our city was going to participate with other cities to buy Northwestern Energy, I thought, what? And so I started researching public power. Anybody can just get a Google search going, put in public power, and you see vote, 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 vote all around the country. State laws talk about a vote. Sometimes it's not just a majority of the people who voted, but a majority of the people eligible to vote. And at one of those work sessions, I saw Mr. Grigori speak, and he talked about a coal plant. And after that meeting, I went up to him and I said, good luck. I'm from Pittsburgh. I'm not an environmentalist. You'll probably have some opposition. Well, it wasn't clear at that meeting that our city was going to be paying for the design of that plant. I was there to say, don't give money to the mayor of Missoula, because it's money going down a rat hole. They're never going to get Northwest. Where's the vote? And then I find out that my money is paying for the design of the power plant. And again, it's like, well, wait a minute, you didn't ask us. This past session, there were bills introduced that would let the city do exactly what they're doing. They're doing it anyway. Create a government entity that would be a public power entity. And those bills failed. House Bill 22 is restricting the residents from getting power from this plant, but they're doing it anyway. The reason they spent the first $1.5 million general obligation bond was because the residents would have cheap power. Well, that's not cheap power anymore. Then it became market-based, and now we hear it's going to be stable. Well, the guy that was mauled by the bear is stable today, but he was a lot better off before the bear found him. Thank you.
Please hold your applause. On that note, Mary, we're going to have you ask the first question.
Didn't I already ask a question?
No, this is the new round.
This is round 2.
Oh, and by the way, let's keep the question related to the coal plant. All right, thanks. Grizzly bears are okay as long as it's related to the coal plant.
Does it cause you pause that the financiers of America and the insurance companies are saying, whoa, coal plants sounds like the next big tobacco in 30 years. So insurance companies are saying, okay, you got to pay for this because, 30 years from now, there are going to be a lot of lawsuits.
Supposed to be a question.
What do you think about that, Diane Jovicans?
I don't know what the question is.
Okay. The question was, apparently there's some potential litigation liability issues arising from the coal plant. Is that fair, Mary?
Yes.
Okay. I think Diane may be getting a few questions here.
I guess I'm not clear on what, I guess if there's lawsuits out there, there's lawsuits out there and they'll have to be handled. I guess I don't know what your question is, Mary.
Here, I'll stay in between here.
The question is I'm not an environmentalist, and if you're voting for me because you think I am, well, I'm not.
Just
but
ask the question,
finance-wise, the tide has turned, and the liability issues with coal plants, it's harder to get money to build them, bonds, selling bonds, and also insurance companies are just saying, oh, you're going to have to pay a lot of money if you want to do this. So cost-wise, it's becoming very risky.
And do you have an instance of that, I guess? I guess I'm just not aware of any instance. Do you have a specific instance when this, in fact, has happened with a coal plant and being sued and...
I'm not talking about... It's Wall Street Journal information like that, all the financial magazines.
I guess we'll be there.
Okay, when it happens, we'll be there. Okay. Thanks.
Well, that was, I'm not sure where the timing was, but Diane, do you have a question?
No.
Okay. Ida, would you like to, Hensley, ask a question? Stuart, would you like to ask a question? Of course. Yeah.
This is a question for Bill Bronson. Bill, I'm interested in knowing whether you think that the current process that we have, both between the city and county, where the city and county is no longer part of a single planning process, whether that's adequate to the purpose to really make a determination under our constitutional requirement for a clean and healthful environment as to whether this coal plant is good for our people.
If you don't mind, Stuart, I need some clarification. When you're talking about the process, what are you talking about? Are you talking about our city-county planning process as originally as it used to exist, or what?
Well, we both know that we've done away with the city-county planning process. And so now the decisions that have to be made about the health and quality of our environment will be made by the city commissioners and by the county commissioners. And I'm concerned whether you feel that the current process that we're under can adequately address something as important as this coal plant for the protection of the health and well-being of our people.
To answer Stuart's question, I guess I don't accept a part of your premise there. And the part that I don't accept is that neither the city nor the county, under state laws or federal law, have the ultimate authority to make the decision on health and safety issues regarding the siting of a power plant. They just don't have that power. They do have authority, for example, in the situation we're in now, where the county can make decisions regarding zoning. They can make a decision about whether or not the area that the plant is proposed to be built in can be turned into an industrial area as opposed to an agricultural area. But they don't have the ultimate authority to decide whether or not that plant is sited. Those are questions of state and federal law.
Thanks, Bill. Did you have a question you wanted to ask?
I think these folks had some questions.
Okay. Ed McKnight wanted to give everybody on the panel an opportunity to ask a question if you wish.
I would like to ask, Commissioner Coons talked about stepping up and taking leadership in this power process. And yet all the information I have, either the coal plant or Electric City Power, we have done nothing but lose money.
And so is that your question?
If losing money is an indication of leadership, is that the kind of leadership that we need?
Okay. Did you get the question? All right.
I did. And again, your figures and my figures are different on the losing money. You've gone to the budget and picked one particular line item out of our budget and said, we're losing, we're losing, we're losing. You have not gone and visited with Colleen Balzerini on a regular basis regarding this issue. So you view us as losing, losing, losing. I don't view it that way. And I think with Electric City Power, because of the obligations that we have for the contracts for the next 20 years, there will be enough revenue to carry us through, and we will not continue to lose money.
Thank you, Diane. Have all the candidates had an opportunity to ask a question? That being the case, I've got a question, and it's not meant to be adversarial because I've read about it. It seems to be something that is a hot topic, so to speak, related to the coal. And Diane, I know you've had the microphone, but my question to you is, if you know, why wasn't the coal plant, or why isn't the City Commission willing to have a vote on this issue that obviously is of some importance?
I guess we're elected to our office, and public policy is not dictated by a vote. What would the question be, and how would it be put on a ballot? Would we just say, and again, it's the wording, it's the way it's done. And again, what if the people of Great Falls voted for it? Would there still be this controversy? Tomorrow, what if someone wanted to put up another Walmart in our community? Do we put that on the ballot? Because that was very controversial at one time. And one other thing, who pays when these things are put on the ballot at $30,000 an election?
Thank you. I think she's passionate about that point, as well she should be. Stuart Lewin, I've got the same question for you. That seemed to be some of an interesting point, is you put it on the ballot, and what purpose does that serve? Or maybe I should have asked Mary Jolly, but I asked Stuart, so go ahead. Mary?
It's the way things are done in public power. Cities and towns all across America, in fact. A year ago, I met with John Lawton in his office, And that's when I first discovered repeal 2861. When I saw the Attorney General's opinion and it talked about a vote before any money was spent, I thought, oh, they just didn't see this. They forgot about it. I'll just go tell them and, we'll vote on whether the city gets into the public power business. Then I saw repeal 2861. I went to Mr. Lawton and asked for a vote, and there was time to have it.
Thank you very much, Mary. That brings another question to my mind, and obviously I think we have a very extremely well qualified person to answer the question in reference to a coal plant. There's a historical route that this coal plant is going to impact, and I know a lot of the historical people are opposed to this. And I know, Bill Bronson, that you've been on the board of the Interpretive Center. Do you have a comment on what consideration should be given to the historical concerns?
This is where I get into trouble with my wife, who has a contrary opinion, but be that as it may, and sorry, dear. Channing raises an interesting point, and if you read the record of decision by the federal and the state agencies about the plant, you do see an observation that there will be a significant impact in one way or another on the National Historic Landmark. But what the record of decision also points to is the need to find ways to mitigate that particular impact. Is that the end? That's it? Okay, sorry.
All right.
I guess you don't get the answer.
Well, we'll read about it in the Tribune.
Okay.
One more question, because I think it's important, at least from my perspective, is when I was being raised on the farm, the city provided services, police protection, roads, court. What's the city doing being involved in power? Ida Hensley, have any idea? Is that a bad question?
I'm just not totally sure I understand the question.
Well, then it's a bad question. The debaters would know that. So the question, I'm trying to be specific, is power something specifically that the city should be involved in, because it's not typically a municipal undertaking? Was that okay?
Yeah,
All right.
now I understand.
Thanks.
Not all cities provide water. Some cities have private water companies. So, I think that the provision of public services such as water, sewer, sanitation, storm drains, and even power is legitimately can be considered a governmental function. I know I don't have much time.
Speed up.
Speed up. Talk faster. One of the problems with living in communities is that we have to compromise. One of the other advantages is that we share the expenses. I see this as being one of those as well, just like we share water.
Thank you. I appreciate the responses. Let's hear it for the candidates on a hot issue.